And welcome back to Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concha, along with my co-host Rick Unger, Brad Hirschfield, and Noah Rothman. On Capitol Hill, a showdown over Obamacare during the hearing by the House Ways and Means Committee. Chairman Paul Ryan challenged Health and Human Services Secretary Sylvia Burnwell on what the administration would do if the Supreme Court this month strikes down tax subsidies that are being used to help people pay for Obamacare. Her response? You guys figure it out.
What will the administration do? Will they stand up with one piece of paper and say, my way or the highway, or will they work with Congress to address the situation?
So the problem that occurs if the court decides against us is that they have made a decision that the subsidy
You're not going to answer
available.
the question, are you?
No, the answer is the problem that gets created is subsidies aren't available. They aren't available for millions of Americans. They lose their insurance. It drives up costs in the individual market. To solve that problem, the critical decisions are going to sit with the Congress or states.
Playing games.
Okay, I'm sure Rick wants to jump in on this one. The interesting part about this is she's saying basically, okay, states will need to figure it out. 26 of the 34 states that use the federal exchange have GOP governors. Yeah. This could get messy in a big hurry.
Unless Congress does something about it. Look, Paul Ryan, along with every other Republican who's trying to pretend that this is the problem of the administration, even though the American public isn't buying it already for 1 second, he's not going to get away with it. It's Congress who has the power to fix this by fixing 4 words if the Supreme Court rules that the 4 words, go the way that the president doesn't want it to go. There's no way out of this. Now, they can come up with a new plan if this one's going to fail because of it. They haven't so far. Some tell you that they've got one, but they're not going to tell us what it is until the Supreme Court rules. It's all a bunch of baloney. They got nothing because they can't have anything, because there is no way to give people with pre-existing conditions coverage if you don't have mandated insurance. Folks, they've been trying to figure it out since the dawn of time. There's no other way, and the Republicans know.
Noah, you're going to turn the show into an echo chamber, I have a feeling, and repeat everything that Rick just said.
Precisely.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with a lot of your logic, frankly, but the notion that this is not an administration problem, when we had a law in 2010 that was passed without a single Republican fingerprint on it, and if this provision is overturned, it is explicitly as a result of reading the law that was passed. How this becomes a Republican problem is a bit of a stretch. Now, I'll agree that it's not necessarily an administration problem until Republicans make it one. They will have a problem with not restoring subsidies. It's frankly immoral and politically problematic for a bunch of people to lose their insurance through no fault of their own. What they will do is they'll pass an insurance provision that extends it over into 2017, but they'll also pass something along the lines of a repeal of the mandate, the individual mandate. That will force the president to veto it, and boom, there you go, the president has rid you of your insurance.
They'll play politics instead of actually addressing the problem.
Oh, nobody ever plays politics.
No, I understand.
Especially with the Affordable Care Act.
You think Americans aren't going to know that? Of course they will. Look, if you do that, the president will have to veto it because you've just destroyed the possibility of insurance companies.
The reviled individual mandate.
Wait. You cannot say no unless you're ready to tell me how pre-existing conditions are insured without
separate the two. I agree with that. But here's what the American public will come to understand is that it takes 2 to tango. You're 100% right about 50% of the problem.
No.
Congress does have it in its power, but you're 100% right about the other 50%.
How so?
The bottom line is it will come to the president's desk and he will take an all or nothing approach saying, I squared the circle on health care, which is not true. What he did was create a policy and a mandate that helped people get more health care without changing the health care policy.
I know you have a point you want to make. It's not relevant to this discussion.
Sure it is.
No, it's not. What Noah said was they would extend the subsidies until 2017. I think that's right. That's what they want to do. But they will couch it with a revocation of the mandate. The problem is that's creating an impossible choice.
What it does is
it creates a timeline during which we can address it.
We'll need to move on.
American people will know it.
Need to move on for a moment.
That's
Secretary Burwell echoed something the president said yesterday about Obamacare. Let's take a look.
It seems so cynical to want to take coverage away from millions of people, to take care away from the people who need it the most, to punish millions with higher costs of care, and unravel what's now been woven into the fabric of America.
Now, millions of Americans are already dealing with higher insurance costs. Didn't the president say Obamacare would reduce health care premiums as he tried to sell the law? Brad Hirschfield.
Look, even the Washington Post gave him 3 Pinocchios on this claim. And we are now seeing that health care costs, based on what the insurance companies want, are going to go up significantly. Though, as we talked about earlier, not as the most egregious end of the spectrum, right? That's where the media actually doesn't help. They all want 25% increases. It's not true. They want 12 to 15% increases, and they would still have to be legally allowed, and they're probably not going to get them. But it is true that the claim that somehow this would give more people more of what they want for less of what they need to pay, it doesn't work that way. That's a fairy tale. And that's why even the Washington Post, on that claim at least, said 3 of 4 Pinocchios, Mr. President.
No.
I can think of a few laws that were part of the fabric of American society that were summarily ripped right out of that fabric. And a lot of them that looked like it was just going to be inevitable, that this was the way that things were going. When the 18th Amendment to the Constitution was passed, half the country was already dry. Prohibition was the way of things, and it looked like that was always going to be the case. By the time it was repealed, we had realized that this was an utter failure, a good experiment, but a disastrous failure, and we never went backwards. This is the kind of thing that I think is making our own argument for us.
I would kill to see you during Prohibition.
I'd have been bootlegging. Are you kidding?
Right,
I'd have been
good point.
bootlegging. I wouldn't have any heebie-jeebies. Look, I mean, let's just be honest here. We've all acknowledged that Obama wasn't particularly truthful when he said you can keep your doctor and all that stuff. And we're all disappointed about the rates that the insurance companies are trying to jam through this year. As my friend Brad here said, it's not going to be as high as they asked, but it does look like it's going to be higher than what we would expect. We would have expected 6 to 8%. We're looking at 12 to 14%. Not good.
Okay. Well, that will be the last word on that for now. Have to see how the Supreme Court rules on this one. This will be fascinating, what this can do to the president's legacy if this ends up going away. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But coming up, are the Baltimore police letting the bad guys win? Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.